Hello and welcome back to this episode of your Kingsport blog video update. I am Jeff Fleming, city manager. That sounds really strange to say that. Took office yesterday and feel really blessed to have had the opportunity to do that right here in my hometown. So I do want to spend the first few minutes talking about my predecessor, John Campbell. We had a fantastic retirement celebration for John, and when we got the list of all of the accomplishments that he had in Johnson City and Kingsport, it just made me realize what every public service official is really interested in is helping the communities that they serve be the best that they can be. And I really want to just read you some of the accomplishments that John has had in both cities. In Johnson City, he was responsible for the Winged Deer Park, which has become a regional destination for sports and tourism in the Tri-Cities. He also was responsible for the building of Woodland Elementary, Mountain View Elementary, Lake Ridge Elementary, rebuilt Southside Elementary on the same site, was a tear-down rebuild, and then also Indian Trail Middle School on North Roan Street towards Boones Creek. Also the Millennium Center, which served as a catalyst for the private Carnegie Hotel right across from ETSU. He also was the champion of the State of Franklin Road and Peoples Street, which has become a major retail destination for the Tri-Cities area right off I-26 and looping on around to ETSU in one direction and then also to Bristol Highway another direction. The MedTech Park, of course, was a very high-profile project during John's time in Johnson City, and it has become an important regional address for professional offices and medical businesses. The Iris Glen landfill, which we haven't heard a lot about recently, but a very cutting-edge environmentally friendly landfill that was a great revenue generator for Johnson City. John was a real champion of that. Also, the improvements to support development of the ridges at Boones Creek Road, which of course led to many more subdivisions in that area that we've been trying to figure out a way to lure people back to Kingsport from those developments ever since. That's been highly successful as a regional address for the Tri-Cities area. And then also Buffalo Mountain Park. So that's not an exhaustive list, but it's certainly one that John can be proud of and the region can be proud of for what he accomplished. And then in the 7 years that he was in Kingsport, we did the Academic Village. We did John Adams Elementary School, which was the first completely new elementary school in 30 years in Kingsport. Plus, it was surrounded by the Edinburgh development. If you look at the Lake Ridge School in Johnson City and you look at John Adams School in Kingsport, there are lots of similarities between the layout of those two. He clearly has John Campbell's thumbprint on that. It's been a very successful development. It's been one that has been a magnet for young families who are interested in living in a very convenient location in the Tri-Cities area. John used to ask us what the difference between the Boones Creek exit in Johnson City and the Rock Springs exit in Kingsport was. And then he'd wait for a minute, and he'd say, "There's no reason that there's any difference. People can live in Rock Springs and work in Johnson City just as easy as people can live in Boones Creek and work in Kingsport." So part of the challenge is making sure you have those regionally convenient residential addresses available for development and housing. Also the Aquatic Center, which has been a phenomenal success as far as just the magnitude of attention that it's bringing to Kingsport. Major road improvements that had gone for generations without being resolved, like Gibson Mill Road, Harbor Chapel Road, Cleek Road, and Sullivan Street. Acquired two major industrial park locations, Partnership Park 2 at Interstate I-81 26 intersection, and the former General Shell property, which of course is located right in the city core. The Kingsport Press project is my favorite project that John worked on because I got to witness firsthand how he operated. I was charged with doing a traditional RFQ, and frankly we got very few results from that traditional process. And so it seemed like every meeting that I was in with John, at the end of the meeting he'd say, "Hey, can I interest you in 1 million square feet of a closed industrial plant in downtown Kingsport?" And sometimes it'd be met with a blank stare, sometimes it'd be met with a wrinkled eyebrow, but once somebody said, I might know somebody that's interested in that. And, it only takes once. And so, John jumped on it, and sort of the rest is history. We now have a downtown grocery store, downtown retail shops, a brand new farmer's market. We have medical offices. We have the chamber and city schools administration in the downtown area now, all on that former press property. And all of that was given to the city for $1 because the previous owner had concluded that it had no economic value. Now we see that it has more than 500 jobs. It's valued at more than $11 million on the tax rolls. So clearly, government can be entrepreneurial and can be successful. And we owe that to John's the thinking and prodding and moving us along, because it could have sat there for many years just dormant. I also created the Stormwater Utility District that began moving us toward some of the protection of watersheds that are so important these days. The Visitor Enhancement Program, which has led to major new improvements like the new planetarium at Bays Mountain, and also the wayfinding signage, which is the beautiful signs that you see all around town. Those are paid for by folks who stay in hotels. So if you don't stay in a hotel, you don't pay the hotel motel tax, and you're not paying for the Visitor Enhancement Program. So the planetarium at Bays Mountain, part of the amphitheater at Allendale, numerous things, the Lazy River feature at the Aquatic Center. All these things were funded, at least all or in part, by the Visitor Enhancement Program. And that was one of John's brainchilds. Also established a new public art program throughout the city. Did a $4.5 million project at Dobbins Bennett with the stadium improvements. That's a 70-year-old stadium. It actually preceded the school by 25 years, and most people seem to have forgotten that. They think that that's all the same building and campus and all happened at the same time. Actually, the stadium was there for years before the school was ever built, and so it was long overdue for that to be made handicapped accessible, and also to be made so that it can take on phase 2 of its very long life at that location. So that's on tap to be open for the first ball game, which is coming up in August. It will be fully handicapped accessible, have new concession stands, new restrooms. All of the codes had changed, obviously, in that time period, and so it was very important to make that make those improvements. Before someone got hurt and filed a lawsuit, any number of things could have happened. But if you needed any kind of a case study to show how much codes and tastes had changed over time, all you had to do was go to J. Fred Johnson Stadium. I'm told in the women's restroom that the stalls were so small and so narrow based on the way things used to be that you pretty much had to back in. You couldn't even walk into the stall and turn around. It was that tight. So clearly that's not acceptable for handicapped accessibility these days. And so very, very happy to see that long-term project be finished. Also the downtown parking garage. And he implemented energy efficiency initiatives all across the city, including the energy audit. For many of our buildings, we've had replacement windows, we've had changes in our heating and cooling, anything that we can do to become more efficient. And many of those improvements were made or paid out of the efficiencies that were achieved. So we didn't necessarily have to put huge capital outlays to do that. We just had to be smart about dealing with a company that was able to pay out of the proceeds of the savings. We also grew the city's fleet of alternative vehicles. We've implemented automated garbage and recycling, which has been very well received. We've got an automated meter reading process now where it saves on labor. And we've implemented paperless police reporting and many other things that we've been working on, which are improvements in efficiencies and also more environmentally friendly. Added 2 new fire stations. We're up to 8 fire stations now. I know when I first came here in 1985, we had 4, so we've doubled the size of the fire department in that time period, so that we can provide service to all. We've added a health risk assessment for employees, which John cared very passionately about our employees and established a wellness program and a Care Here clinic for our city employees, which saved a lot of money, and it allows for pre-scheduled time slots that are unique to that one individual employee to go have their doctor's visit at the Midland Center, which is across from Dobbins Bennett. We sure hope that the schools are going to join in on that pretty soon too, and it's been a great cost savings for our citizens. Also created health savings accounts for our employees so that when they do retire, that they will have access to funding to help defray the expenses of health care. So top to bottom, side to side, John Campbell's thumbprint is on the organization of Kingsport and Johnson City, and we owe him a great debt of gratitude. And I'm so grateful that he and Gail have chosen to retire here in Kingsport and to enjoy the fruits of their labor, because those fruits are many. So, John, thank you very much, and we appreciate all that you did and are going to continue to do in the future. Quickly, the 4th of July in downtown Kingsport, 6:30 p.m. opening is This Mountain, 7:30 is Folk Soul Revival, and then fireworks begin at 9:45. Yes, there are going to be fireworks in downtown Kingsport 4th of July, and great acts, very popular regional acts. And if you haven't been downtown Kingsport lately, you owe it to yourself to get down here and see what's going on. It's a very exciting time to be here. Fun Fest, July 11th through the 18th. Crazy Eights is the opening night. The candlelit streets of Kingsport. Don't want to miss it. We got a chip on our shoulder this year because we found out that our world record was broken this year in Boston, and so we're hoping to capture that back. I know that our folks are working hard to make sure that anything that we can possibly do to make the conditions as conducive as possible, we're certainly going to do that. The concerts Thursday, Friday, and Saturday this year are Mercy Me Christian concert on Thursday night, Martina McBride the Domtar concert on Friday, and Train on Saturday, which is the Eastman concert, among many other sponsors in all those events. So again, be sure and watch for the sponsors. Thank the sponsors, because Fun Fest would not happen without them. Highlights of the board meeting last night: we had Cooks Valley Road improvements are continuing on down from Harbor Chapel into the sharp turn at the bottom of the hill. We're continuing that long-term commitment to improve after we annexed the area in the late 80s. So annexation is not a short-term deal. It's something that you continue to chip away at for years and years to come. So we continue to see improvements made in that area. Also, the ball fields, we agreed on what we're going to do in terms of the fifth field. We're going to just grade the fifth field and have it ready for future use, but it may possibly be available for other uses, which we're currently discussing how we can best use that. But the grading will already be to put a field in there. It'll minimize those costs in the near future. I also want to just add that a lot of work has gone into the raw water intake. Ryan McReynolds, our Assistant City Manager for Operations, explained that intake has been in place as early as the 1920s, when we came down from Bays Mountain Reservoir to provide services to the whole city. And if anything happens to that raw water intake, we could be a very extended period without water. And so there's a pump that goes up a cliff near John B. Dennis Highway at where it crosses the river. It goes under John B. Dennis Highway and comes into our water plant. One of the pipes was installed in the 1920s, one in the 1940s, and one in the 1970s. So as part of our ongoing analysis of the water system, we want to make sure that we're always able to provide reliable and dependable infrastructure, because sometimes these development projects are high profile and get a lot of discussion, but the basics are so incredibly important, and Ryan and his folks are doing a great job in making sure that you have reliable, dependable infrastructure, whether that's water, roads, sewer, traffic, all those basic needs. So again, hats off to Public Works and Ryan McReynolds. Appreciate all the work that's going on there. In my first act as city manager, I did name Chris McCart Assistant City Manager for Administration, Ryan McReynolds Assistant City Manager for Operations, and Lynn Tully was promoted from Planning and Community Development Director to Development Services Director, because she's going to be taking over many of the responsibilities that I formerly had over in Development Services. So we have a great team in Kingsport. It's very talented. It's very deep. And one thing everybody's told me is to be sure and surround yourself with good people, because good people will make you look good, and we have a lot of good people here, and I hope to be able to just help them be the best that they can be, so that we can be the best that we can be as a city. So again, thank you very much for the opportunity to be your city manager. I look so much forward to working with you in the future and possibly be. Thank you very much.